Hey there, hunting family. What's going on tonight? Ron Mentzer, the Arrow Eagle, here with you, and I am hanging out on a Tuesday night, coming to you live tonight. Got a fun show. This is Tracks and Tackle, where nature is our playground. And tonight we're going to be stepping into one of the oldest debates there is amongst woodsmen. We're going to be talking private land versus public land hunting, the pros and the cons of either one of those. It's a conversation that hits home for a lot of us, and I think both sides have merit. And if that's not enough, we're going to be diving into a secondary topic tonight. We're going to be talking about the question: if you could only hunt one species for the rest of your days, what species would you choose? And for the topic tonight, I've got a heavy hitter in the outdoors world. I'm going to bring him on with us, Lee Bolner from 3B Outdoors. Lee knows his way around the woods, and he's not afraid to share his knowledge with the group. Hey, Lee, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Ron. Thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for co-hosting with me, and yeah, we're going to get into some of these topics, man. I know we had a healthy conversation last week, and we're a little light on the co-hosts tonight, but you are filling some big shoes, and I'm glad to have you with me here. So don't let me talk too much. Let's tear into this. I want to talk about the public land versus private land conversation first as our main topic tonight.
That's a
But
huge topic. So
yeah, we can cover some ground there, I think, especially because I want to present both sides. But when just for the viewing or listening audience, when we were texting and doing show prep for this week, we were talking through this topic and subject matter, and I said to Lee, I'm like, look, man, everybody's going to know what your favorite species to hunt is, or what my favorite species. Not like they're going to know Ron's going to want to hunt whitetails, and I don't know if you would say you want to hunt ducks or not. I don't know you that well, Lee, but I know you're a big duck hunter, and so I said, if we had to take out our top one species and have a fallback, that's what I want to talk about for us. But if you're watching the show, drop us a comment. Let us know what you think. I'm interested to hear what you say. I got our guy Triple B Outdoors down in Arkansas. How you doing, brother? Thanks for checking us out tonight and taking a moment. I know you're working tonight too. So what's up? So Lee, let's get things going, man. First of all, how's your week going? I don't want to jump the gun and go too hard too fast, but
we're good. Just season prep, like we talked about last week. Just I feel like I'm behind. I feel like I need to catch up a little bit with some things. Had some changes in my trail cams over the last couple days. Had a farmer right across the street do some things that move the deer movement around, move their patterns around. But I mean, for us here in Maryland, I mean, the season's only 2.5 weeks away. 1st of September, bow season's in, early goose comes in. So just prepping and trying to balance that with work and family life and everything else. You know how that is. So
work takes up too much time.
Way too much time. I agree with that. So
It's important, though. It's
it is.
important.
Got to pay the bills in order to got to make the money in order to pay the bills and to do some of this stuff. We've talked about it plenty of times, Chris. You can get into this sport for cheap, but you can also get into this sport and rack up the bills. So
You can spend a lot of money.
a lot of money.
And especially being a waterfowl guy, it's one of the topic bullets that I would cover later. Is it's big gear. It's a big gear related,
Yes. Yep.
effort. So,
Yep.
hey, what's up, Brent? Thanks for checking us out tonight, man. Appreciate you guys. We're doing this live thing, so you guys are watching. Drop a comment. Tell us where you're watching from, and I want to see how far this reach actually goes. But yeah, let's get into it. We're going to be talking through public land versus private land, and we were kicking around topics. What do we want to talk about this week? And I think there's a case to be made for both. And look, if you're a public land hunter, because it's all you've got. I mean, there's part of you that wants that private land, you know.
Exactly. Yes.
And if you're a private land guy, I don't know why you would want to hunt public land. But I think I've got some bullet points on both. But let me get
Yes.
you to weigh in on this, Lee. Like, just at a very high level, overarching umbrella, where would you say you would fall on this debate?
So, for the people that are watching this live, as you can see behind me, I've got a nice selection of deer heads behind me, and all of those are public land or private land deer. All those are right here. A couple were on the eastern shore when we were leasing private land. So when it comes to deer hunting, I would have to say, private or public land is or private. I'm sorry, private land is what I hunt. But stepping into my waterfowl hunting, I'm unfortunate to not have any private land really at my disposal. I have some friends that have private land, so it's public that I hunt when it comes to ducks. It's public that I hunt when it comes to turkeys. So yeah, this is a big conversation. I mean, some people are lucky enough to have the Mecca private land where they've got all the wildlife they want to hunt, fish, stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely. I know a lot of people struggle and fight with leases and stuff like that, and fight with the public land. And I've done it before. So yeah, it's definitely a topic for us as sportsmen, and to continue this for our kids and to have public land for them to be able to hunt. It's definitely a big conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, I got questions that could be conversation starters to get us like diving into this, but let me just like present the case for both. All right. So, I mean, as a public land hunter, so for myself, my family doesn't have a lot of private land to hunt, um, but we do have a little. We've got a little piece of real estate that is awesome for like one or two guys. But when the whole family wants to hunt it, like there's just not room to hold all of us. It's not big enough to hold deer. Like deer pass through, and you're right place, right time. Like so, like I love hunting that public land. I'm sorry that private land that our family owns, but I find myself wandering onto public a lot just because it's thicker, it's deeper in the woods.
The
That's where
opportunities
the
there.
that's where the deer are. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to make your opportunities, right?
Yep.
But from a public land hunting perspective, accessibility, an affordability, like it's available to everyone. Okay, so like benefits, there's fair chase, right? It's not like high fence. It's not. It appeals to people who pursue, and this is the thing that I wanted to bring up. I think as I get older, it's the chase that I'm enjoying more than the actual kill,
Oh
right?
yes.
So like
Yes.
hunting an animal, um, there's just pleasures in that. We utilize the animal for everything, but the chase, the hunt itself, I'm enjoying more. And I think that goes with like this wilderness experience. Like whenever I go out onto public land, you spend more time. It promotes outdoorsmanship, woodsmanship.
Yep.
It's getting into some more scenic areas, usually more remote. Um,
Putting
it
more scouting
connects.
time in.
You got to put, like you said, you got to make your opportunities. It connects people with the wild, and I think everybody, like amongst us and everybody in the collaborative group that we have, and people that would probably tune in and watch a show like this, we appreciate nature. We appreciate the land. We know that it's worth protecting and salvaging and fighting for, but not everybody feels that way. You
Mhm.
know, public land hunters really truly understand that. I think they have a really good grasp of the value of our natural resources. There's a shared culture to
Yes.
it. Whether my wife's not a hunter, but we love to camp, we love to hike, like we love to just like go out, get into nature. And so when you're talking about hunting and scouting, it's going deep into the woods. It's finding those terrains that haven't seen boot tracks in a while, going to where the deer are.
Yeah.
So those are some like benefits, I would say, of the public land piece conversation. Um, Anything to add to that? From your perspective?
No, I mean, I would agree. It's those of us that hunt public. A lot of the listeners know that Chris and I do a lot of time at Assateague, and public land hunters understand what we could possibly lose.
Right.
And I take it for granted here on my property, and I'm the same way. I've got a small little piece of private land. I'm lucky enough that I got some bedding and some food source, so
That's
they
what you
move
want.
around. But I mean, it's very small. I can only put one person here. But I'm lucky enough to fill my freezer every year, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a place that I can harvest the deer that I need. And I've also got a place that if a buddy needs a deer, to fill his freezer, come on down. I'll put you in the stand. So I take that for granted. I'm not going to lose that. As long as as long as laws don't change or something doesn't happen, I'm not going to lose that. The public land, though, hunting Assateague, hunting the bay and stuff, there's the great possibility that in the future we're going to lose all that. So as public hunters, we fight a little bit more. I feel like we're a little bit more conservation driven than some of the private landowners.
Yeah, it goes to say like you don't know what you've got until you don't have it anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We take things for granted.
Yep.
That have always been there, but we haven't had to fight for. Um, so yeah, it's all that's true. All that's very true. Quick story because you said about relocating some cameras. I know I just spent some time up at our camp, and I had cameras out probably since mid July, early July. Mid July. I went put some cameras up where I usually see deer moving through. Wasn't seeing the normal deer activity this summer. I was getting a little bit discouraged about it. And if you guys have been listening, following the show, we've had some neighbors been logging the properties, their properties off, and our property's pretty mature. It's not thick, it's not holding anything, like I said, but we just haven't been seeing the game move. So we was up there this weekend and splitting some firewood and just doing some cabin maintenance and all the stuff you have to do in the summer to get ready for the winter.
Yep.
And I said, well, I'm going to relocate because I had these on this one deer path. It's just the ferns grew tall enough that every time the wind blows, it sets off the motion sensor on the camera. And I'm getting like 50, 60 pictures a day of nothing.
Yep.
And nothing but vegetation.
I think we all fight with that now that a lot of people have trail cams or cell cams, a lot of us fight with that.
Yeah. So like I'm like, man, I gotta shift this thing up the hill. And so I took it and I relocated it, and we'll see where the spot that it is probably closer to the spot where I actually like to hunt. But I had a second camera that I took a nature walk, and I really took it out into some deep, thick stuff. I got out onto some land that I usually don't get onto. I know it's thick. I've seen sign there in years past, but I couldn't find the right spot. And I'm out here. I'm on public land. I'm on a side of a mountain. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Long distance walk, and I'm just standing there and I'm looking around. I'm saying, where would be a key spot that if I put it here, I'd even want to get back here to this spot. Because it's one thing to know there's deer in the thick. It's another thing to want to travel there, pack them out, like do all the work that's involved.
Yep.
I see some rocks rolled over. Now, on my trail cam, I haven't been getting a lot of deer, but I have been getting some black bear. And I see some like decent sized rocks that have been rolled over. Like a bear's been through here looking for ants and bugs and stuff. So I said, well, I'm just going to put this camera in this one spot. And I picked just a tiny little tree, 6-inch diameter tree in the thickest stuff. I said, let me see if I can catch a bear moving through. It'd be fun to see some pictures of that. And then I sent Lee the picture the other night, and I can't see the deer, but there's nothing but antlers. I mean, he's like right on top of the camera, super close up, like he's
solid velvet.
And so that's exciting.
Oh
But
yeah.
the question, I mean, it goes back to, like, you can get into, there's so much public land. I don't know Maryland as well as, and you probably don't know PA as well as I know, but the natural resources that are available to us are vast. And
They
if
are.
you're willing to put the work in to get out to it, um,
It'll pay off.
it can pay off. So one of the downsides, though, to public land is most guys that, I'll say it this way: a lot of guys that whitetail hunt, they want to hunt 50 yards from the truck,
Yeah.
and so there's high competition during peak seasons for those sweet spots that get pressure and crowding.
Yep.
And so if you're willing to go deep and do a little shoe leather express and go to, like, you can get to some secluded areas, and you're probably, those are guys that are having more success than the average Joe. But there's limited game management. I mean, you're not controlling the
No.
seasons and the food source and all that. Like, that's all being, like, boundaries can be, an issue when you're hunting public land. So all these things are like downsides, or yeah, I would just say downsides. And then certainly in Pennsylvania on opening day, I don't want to be on public
No.
on opening.
No.
I mean, there's safety concerns at certain times of year.
That's opening day of turkey season here in Maryland, and opening day of deer season also. I would not want to be anywhere close.
Right, right. So I mean, I think presenting the case for public land. Those are the pros. Those are the cons. But private land, both of us can speak to this. It's nice to be able to say I've got a little bit of property
Hmm. I
that I
agree.
can set a tree stand up on. You're not pressured. It's much more quiet. Now you might have to deal with trespassers depending on where you're located, and you might have to, like, keep police the property. I'd say, but for the most part, it's quiet. You
Hmm.
don't have to worry about people walking across or busting your hunt. That's the
Yep.
hardest thing.
Yeah.
Um, when I'm sitting in a tree stand and I'm doing like an archery hunt, and some joker comes walking across the field, that he doesn't know that I'm there, but I mean, that's tough.
Yeah. It is. It
So
is.
those are the things that get at me and heat me up a little bit. But benefits of private land hunting would be controlled access. You got less pressure. So we talked last week a little bit about the scent conversation.
Yes.
You can control the human
Controlled a
scent,
lot better. Yes.
um, game patterns. You can figure out game patterns. Just less variables all around. Safety is not an issue. There's known exits and entry paths. Like, I'm going to my tree that I have my stand set in. I know where it's at. I know my entry and my exit. It's the same thing every time. Um, so less variables maybe is a better way of saying it.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
You know, but food plots. We touched on this again. You
Yeah.
can get those food sources set up and hunt, prepare those game corridors, and get the animals moving from food to bedding, like you talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we talked about it last week that you guys can't bait like we can down here in Maryland
Right.
in some counties, or in all counties right now. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can set up at least, even if you didn't want to bait during season, you have a good place to draw deer in during off season, so you can see what you have around,
Mm-hmm.
pattern the deer, stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely beneficial when you're on your own property and you can do all that stuff.
So all the upsides to private land, you'd think, like, what are the downsides to having your own land? But I don't know. We're big on tradition, right?
Yep.
So there's this privatization piece of tradition,
Hmm.
or almost in the hunting community. I don't know if you've ever, like, seen this, especially watching people online with social media. Hunt social media, public hunters on social media or whatever. But there's this um, elitism of Look, I'm just a good old boy. If you go to our channel, like it says, we're just a couple of simple, good old blue collar boys that like to hunt and fish and share our outdoor stories. There's no elitism at all in how I grew up. And, we like to say all the time, hunt your hunt the way you want to do it. Like, I don't care if you want to shoot big deer, small deer, you just use the deer.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But when you have private land or uh, groups like hunt clubs and stuff like that, I mean, it can become clicky.
Oh, 100%.
I
Especially
love
the clubs.
I
Especially the
love the
clubs.
tradition, like opening day, like opening day hunting season, and spending that week first weekend at deer camp, and like all that's great. But if you don't have private land to do that on, you're missing out on that. I think that's one of the things that Chris like loves to talk about. Like
Yes.
he
The old
loves hearing
school
those
hunt camp.
stories about guys going to camp and hanging out together and stuff like that, because not everybody has that. Um, and if you've experienced it, it is pretty cool. But
It is.
it's only, you got to have private land to do that sort of thing, I guess.
Well, that and you have to have the money.
Right.
We had a hunt club. I grew up. I was raised on a hunt club just outside of Ocean City, just north of Snow Hill.
Okay.
And my brother and my father were in the club for 10 years before I got to hunting age. And it was a beautiful piece of property. We had fields, we had woods, um, we had a river that ran through the property, and there was 9 of us, 10 of us. And when we originally started with the property, it was $50 a person. And by the time we pretty much got chased out, we
Mm-hmm.
were paying over $1,000 a person,
Wow.
because somebody was willing on paying that to the farmer, and the farmer was okay. If I'm going to get, if some PA boys or Delaware boys are going to come down and pay $1,000 a person,
Can't
sorry
blame them
guys.
either.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we were upset. We'd been on the property for 20 years, but at the same time, that farmer's just trying to make money, trying to make a living. He just wants the deer killed. He don't care who's sitting there.
Right.
He sees green and he sees the people killing the deer. That's all he cares about. So I can't blame him. I mean, I married into a farming family, so I know what it's like. We have crop damage. We're trying to, cut the deer population down, so we can make money on our end on the farm side. So I get that. I do. But it sucks when you get your property, ripped out from underneath you by somebody else. It hurts.
Yeah, those
Uh,
pay to play hunters, they can price out the working class guy pretty quick.
yep. And we see that a lot on the duck side. There's properties on the Eastern Shore that go for big money. There's blind sites down on the bay that go for $8,000-9,000 a season,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody's willing on paying that. And that really hurts, the like you said, the working man. That I can't afford $9,000. Maybe if I went in with 10 other people, but
Yeah.
how are we going to get 10 other people down to the blind? You start working into logistics stuff. So yeah, it's definitely stressful sometimes to try to find the properties you want to hunt, but I mean, it all pays off. You put the work into it, and it's pride, and it feels good to harvest a nice deer that you can put on the wall. And for me, like I said, it's not all about hanging deer on the wall. I feed my family with everything we shoot, so I got to feed my kids and my wife, and kind of cut down on that grocery bill that that's hitting all of
Sure.
us right now. So
I'd say, part of the reason we even do the show is for the stories.
hmm
You know what I mean? Like, it's like you said, it's not about just putting deer on the wall. Every single one of those deer behind you there's a story associated with it. You
yep.
know, and everything else. When you're going through your hunting gear, your tools, and everything that goes with it. When I started hunting, my family, they were part of a lease up in northern Pennsylvania, close to the New York border, and the hunting on that lease was so good that as a 12-year-old kid, I didn't know how good it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Yep.
just, all I knew was, well, my feet are getting cold, my fingers are getting cold. I'm going to go back to, and we hunted out of campers, because we were out in the middle of. I'm going to go back and sit in the camper and warm up.
hmm
Um, Hey, what's up, Shakedown? Shakedown guys, check out their Shakedown podcast. Guys are appreciate you hopping in and saying hello. But yeah, I mean the deer were so plentiful up there, and they just wanted to keep the numbers down on that. But I didn't know how good it was. As I got older, and I got married and had my own job and started making money. I used to hunt with a group of guys, like you said. If you pool your money with the right group of guys, you might be able to get a small lease.
Mm-hmm.
And I hunted for a couple of years with a couple of guys in Ohio on a small farm, and that was an awesome experience. Because Ohio, they've got some nice deer out there,
Yeah.
and but sustaining that over a long period of time, like one guy drops out and the rest of us can't afford it, or
Mm-hmm.
you got to find somebody else in, and then you're making sacrifices, because I might trust you and Chris to go in on a lease, but
Exactly.
you drop out, we got to bring in a third guy, and I don't know him as well, and so like there's all these factors that come into play.
Yeah, and I mean we dealt with that at the property we had years ago. It started off with 10 guys that all knew each other. They all worked together, whatever. They were all from Baltimore area, and they had this wonderful property on the Eastern Shore. And over 5-6 years, people start dropping out slowly, and somebody's like, well, I've got a buddy, let me replace him with this man, and we
Yeah.
don't even know this guy. And and we started having issues. Actually, I'm dealing with public land problems on my private lease. We have stands and we have areas that are assigned, spots, 40-acre lots for this person, 20-acre lot for this person, whatever. And opening day, I'm a junior hunter. I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably 13, 14 years old. I go to climb into my tree stand, and there's somebody in my tree stand. Opening day of rifle season on private land, and it's this guy that had just joined the club that year, knew nothing about the property, didn't put any time on scouting his area, and he had probably one of the best areas at that time. His lot that he had just been clear cutted several years ago, so you had a lot of new growth timber, and there was nice shooting lanes and stuff. So it's like, here I am on private land dealing with public land problems, and it happens. It's just unfortunately what you got to deal with when you're trying to, get people into a club, so you're not forking out more and more money.
Let me ask this question. And this is a conversation starter. We need a round table, guys, for this question. But is it ever appropriate to get into someone else's stand on public?
On public?
On public?
No, I don't think so.
So this is like an ethical question.
Yeah. And I mean, I've hunted public land around here where people leave their tree stand. Maryland, you're not allowed to leave your tree stand on public land.
Yeah, same here.
And we've walked through and I found tree stands, and that's another thing that you can bring up. Is it okay? Is it okay to take somebody else's tree stand that's been sitting there for 2 or 3 weeks? Is it okay to hunt that stand if it's been sitting there? I don't want to touch anybody else's stuff. I don't want to be the one that has somebody touching my stuff. So I wouldn't want to try to mess with anybody else's stuff. But like you said, at the same time, it's illegal. It's not allowed to be there. So yeah, that's definitely, I think we should have, 8 or 9 of us talk about that.
So I don't know what the way that it's written. But on public land in Pennsylvania, there's a date that you can put a stand on, and it's got to come down by a certain date at the end of season. So it can be left there. All right. But for only in season, it can't be left there year round.
Yeah.
So, I actually have a stand on private land that a gentleman, he's a farmer. He wants the deer shot, and he lets everybody hunt it. So even though it's private land, everybody's got permission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. There's a younger guy. He was getting in hunting, and so he was no responsibilities and had all the time, and he was out there and he's hunting it hard, and we'd bump into each other, once in a while, because I try to hunt it. It's not far from home here, and you can get out and do some evening hunts. And I had a guy I worked with that wanted to get into archery hunting. And so I would take him out there after work and try to get him into the woods. And I took him out one time. Well, this other hunter had a buddy that he wanted to hunt with too. And I couldn't get my guy in my stand because some dude was sitting in my stand, hunting it, So, what's the ethical thing to do? You can go up and this is what happens on public land is, there's a lot of quarreling. It goes over, a numerous amount of subject matter could be covered, but you get into some public disputes over things like this.
And it's turned deadly, unfortunately. It's, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, we had a gentleman down in Reelfoot Lake down, I think that's Tennessee, and he was shot by other duck hunters when he approached their duck blind. I mean, it's just it blows my mind, and that's what you had mentioned at the beginning of the show: safety,
right?
On private land versus public land. That's one thing that scares me. You pull up on somebody, you have no idea who they are, and that can be scary sometimes, especially at night.
And it's a different world too.
Well, yeah,
it's
and
not
everybody
like it was 30 years ago when we were growing up.
You walk up on a fisherman, he's got a fishing pole. You walk up on a hunter, he's got a firearm.
Right.
You don't go hunting without a weapon. So any hunter you come across in the woods is going to have a weapon on them. So yeah, like I said, that comes back to the whole safety thing.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, let's wrap this. Let's wrap this segment up. Shakedown says they're loving your beard, dude. Yeah, we're loving it too. We're loving it too. So there's a couple of bridging the divide type of programs. Like out in the Midwest. I know that there's some public-private partnerships I've read about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how they work, but like landowner incentives to let people, like tax breaks or credits to let access to your private land.
Yep.
Public hunting, and then you got like hunting co-ops. Like we touched on, and the big thing is mentorship. Last year I had a guy on from Michigan who was part of a big group that they work with farmers, and then they teach kids how to hunt. They get kids like a mentor program, get them out there, and they're just killing does and thinning the herd. But they're learning, the
how to
hunt and how to do it. And it's like this co-op, public-private mentorship program. And I know that happens in like all over the United States. Like there are a lot of great programs out there. I'm not naming any by name, but so I think that there's room for both. There's positives to both. There's negatives to both. I don't know. I don't even know where I land because I like hunting public. I like hunting private, but I actually, I've had more success on public.
See, I've had the opposite. I've had more success on private land when it comes to hunting one specific species, whitetail.
Yeah.
When it comes to ducks, I got to go public. I got to go to the bay. I got to go to Assateague. I got to go onto the ocean. So, yeah, I'm definitely split between the two. I mean, I consider myself grateful for what I have, and, definitely take advantage of some friends' private properties too sometimes.
It depends on the land, right?
Yep.
All right, man. Well, let's get into it. I asked for a little bit of feedback. If you guys are watching, I put a poll out there. I guess I'll check that while we're talking. If you could only hunt one species for the rest of your life, what would it be? And break the case down for me. Like, tell me why that would be. And I don't know. I'm just looking for some feedback from the viewers, but I'll let you lead us into this, Lee.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody that knows me knows that I love to duck hunt and stuff. but at the same time, I got into hunting. My dad got me into hunting to fill the freezer. So
Hmm.
I would have to say that if I could only hunt one animal for the rest of my life, it would have to be a whitetail. Um, that being said, I know, during the notes we were talking like gear and stuff. I would love to archery hunt deer for the rest of my life because that
Yeah,
puts the sport into it for me. Anybody can go out when crop damage has ruined it for me when it comes to, just
sure.
picking up a rifle and just laying deer down, to help the farmer and stuff. But the sport of archery hunting, we all, it's in you and me. It's in, you can't get it out. Once you catch that archery bug, you can't get rid of it. So I would have to say archery hunting whitetails would definitely be my last thing I would ever do when it comes to going out into the woods.
So I'm not a waterfowl guy like you are, but I don't, it's part of my region that I live in. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I don't have the opportunities that you guys have, for down in Maryland. And I was really thinking about this hard today, and while we were talking about this show prep. And if I had to, I mean, obviously I'm a whitetail hunter, and I
Mm-hmm.
I like to hunt with the bow.
Mm-hmm.
So you can it does take the you can be pretty successful pretty quick with a gun. Um, it's hard, like it's challenging sometimes hunting with a bow.
Yes.
You don't always get the job done.
Nope.
But if I had to say I couldn't hunt white-tailed deer and I had to choose one other species, well, I've always wanted to hunt elk, you know. But
Yeah.
I also like for this conversation, I was thinking like, all right, well, we have elk in Pennsylvania, but regionally, like, what
Mm-hmm.
options do I have? Because we're not Midwestern guys, I'm
No.
not hunting Rocky Mountains and that sort of stuff, and so like, I'm not going to say elk because just tag limits and it's not a realistic uh, option for me. So like, what are the options in Pennsylvania, right? And so I want to break this down. So I was thinking about this. I mean, obviously there's small game, but I'm not going to hunt small game for the rest of my life. You got the eastern wild turkey. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so turkey is it's a second favorite. It's a spring season. There's a fall season. There's an abundance in Pennsylvania and Maryland, all
Yep.
throughout the Northeast. It's vocal. It's interactive. Like it's this cat and mouse game. Um, it can be quite difficult too. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some of these guys that we got in our groups, man, they love to hunt turkeys because
Yep.
they got they've got that itch.
Yes.
Um, it's great for new hunters and introducing kids into like. So I'm like working down the bullets. Like, okay, turkey hunter. Like could I hunt the rest of my life hunting turkeys? What other options do I got? Um, Black bear. So black bear is a big game animal. I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
game hunter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Um, Good population in Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, West Virginia, like around here. There's a lot of black bear. One of the things that I was thinking about is I can remember every single time I've seen a black bear in the woods. Not just like having an opportunity to hunt them or an opportunity to harvest an animal. Every time I've seen a black bear, I
Oh yeah.
remember.
It's a lasting memory. You.
It's a memorable moment to be in the
Yes.
woods. And that when I was talking about when I started hunting and I was on that lease up in northern Pennsylvania and didn't know how good the hunting was, I remember the first time I was sitting in a tree. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning. It's fall, the leaves are down, and here comes a black bear just like walking over this bench, right down to my tree stand. Part of me as a young boy was like, "This is awesome," and part of me was like, I'm not used to being in the woods with a bear at the same time either.
Yep. By yourself, all alone.
Yeah, so like it's sobering,
Mm-hmm.
but you remember those moments. Um, so yeah, it's I'm thinking meat because we eat the meat, so like it's a serious meat yield.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to. That's why I'm a big game hunter. Um, and you have the opportunity to hunt with archery and a rifle if you chose to.
If you choose, yes.
So then my number three, if I had to do top three, I'm thinking of you guys. I'm thinking waterfowl. thinking, could I? Because I've hunted ducks and had a
Yep.
blast doing it. It is gear specific. It's more social.
It's
It's
social and it's gear specific, but you're not feeding yourself on
no
6 buffleheads
right.
or you know 3 mallards and a pintail. You're definitely not feeding yourself. It's fun. That's why we do it. It's addictive. That's why we do it. I don't do it to feed myself though. It's just
I mean,
not.
it's
It's
like
not possible.
pheasants. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
the pheasant population's not like what it used to be
No, unfortunately not.
around here either. Ton of fun. You can hunt them with buddies.
Yep.
Get the dogs involved. Uh,
Yes. It's a
but
social thing.
that's it.
It's
That's
a
it. So
social thing.
like, I'm rolling waterfowl like ducks and geese out,
Yeah. It's
and
hard.
then yeah, I'm trying to like figure this out. Like, what would I choose between? So the real contender is going to be black bear or wild turkey.
Hmm.
And so as I turkeys, you get decoys involved. It's heaviest tradition, I'd say, in PA behind
It is.
whitetail.
It is.
Um, it's you can access public private land. Like, bring that back into the conversation.
Hmm.
Seasons align perfectly with what I'm used to hunting. You know, spring season, fall season. Black bear, it's a heavy challenge. Like, I've done a little bit of bear hunting, but I don't hunt bear every year because I'm not successful.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's different terrain. I've successfully went out bear hunting one time. Took a buddy with him. I've never killed a bear, but my buddy that I took out, he got one on our property, and then I was the guide, so I had to get it back to the truck, and we weren't deep. We were close to the cabin. It was an all downhill drag, and it was still work.
Still work. Yep.
You know what I mean? So like, I don't know, man. I think I'd have to go like I have
Turkey.
to go with turkey.
Go with turkey.
If I narrowed it down, I think
Yep.
that I'd have to go with turkey, even though I'm not the best turkey hunter. I mean, there's much better turkey hunters out there than
I
I
wish I
am.
could say I was a good turkey hunter.
So I'm trading in antlers for spurs if I had to do it.
No, that's a good choice. That's a good decision. Now that being said, what's your second? Would it be the black bear?
I'd think so because it's a big game. It's a big game animal. I mean, black bear season's not long here. I'd have to hype myself up to do it.
Hmm.
Like you said, I'd have a lot more fun
Hmm.
hunting pheasants or hunting ducks. But if I'm hunting to fill the freezer, I need to hunt a big game animal.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Those are my reasons, right, wrong, or indifferent. Like,
Well, yeah.
that's
I mean, and a lot of people feel the same way. I mean, a lot of people, like I said, well, most people hunt to fill their freezer.
yeah,
So I mean, you especially if you get out into the boondocks of West Virginia, Ohio, where money's not money's tight. A lot of people live off that stuff year round. I
you
mean,
got to make it work.
yeah,
I
you
mean,
got to make it work.
there's a lot of guys, and like, I mean, there are people and folks in my family, and that's how they live.
Hmm.
They're
Yep.
eating that meat.
Yep. My neighbor actually right here that lives right across the stream from where I'm at here, up until he got sick, he harvested 15 deer a year to fill his freezer for his family. And
Wow.
that's what they lived off of all year, unless they got a quarter cow or something from, a
Mhm.
family friend or something. They didn't go to the grocery store to buy meat at all. Everything was deer. So, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that's what they do. So,
Well, I mean, my family, we'll hunt. We'll get through hunting season. We'll get our bag limits on venison, and we'll share.
hmm.
Because I eat venison, love it, but my wife, she didn't grow up eating it, so she'd rather have chicken or beef or whatever, and that's fine. So like, one deer will last me a good decent while.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
get through the steaks in a week, but I mean,
Go through the back straps in 1.5 days.
yeah, but I mean that the burger on a good old nanny dough
Hmm.
will last me a while because how often am I eating a meal for one?
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know what I mean? So then, in the winter time, we'll usually, as a family, we'll self-process a few hogs and fill the freezer with sausage. And then as a family, like I'll, maybe my brother or my sister and I, like we'll split a beef or something like that, or quarter out a beef between
Mm-hmm.
four family members. And so like my freezer has meat in it at all times.
Yep.
And so whenever we have to go to the grocery store, it's usually because I don't feel like I need to throw some burgers on the grill now, and I don't feel like letting them thaw. Didn't set anything out. That's the reason why I would be going to the meat counter at the
Yep.
butcher shop. Right
Yeah.
on. Well, listen, man. Very cool conversation. Appreciate everybody for tuning in and dropping some feedback. Lee, really thank you for hanging out, listening to me tonight, or else I would be completely a one man show. I know I talk plenty, but
No, thanks for having me. I really enjoy, talking with you guys, Chris, everybody. The whole collective as a whole has been. It's nice to see everybody's successes and stuff. So
yeah, we got some cool guests coming on. I know earlier in the show we had a couple folks come on, but Triple B Outdoors down in Arkansas. He's going to be coming on the show here later this month. I'm actually going to be taking a vacation, and so this month might be a little bit slow on Tracks and Tackle episodes, unless I can get somebody that's able. You guys can record, but get somebody to publish them while I'm out. We might miss a week or two, but I don't think that anybody's going to lose sleep over us not putting out content for a week.
we all need a vacation every now and then.
Yeah, it's summertime. It's the time of year where everybody just taking a break, and I want to spend some time. Take my wife on a camping trip for longer than just a long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So when hunting season comes, I can get away.
Yep.
So listen, if you guys are watching or listening to this on the replay, how can folks find you?
So I'm on Facebook, Lee Bolner, but then I'm usually the last couple months I've been trying to get my Instagram to jive with 3B. So it's Lee_3B Outdoors. Chris and I are trying to, along with you, build some of this up and share some of our stories and just reach out to some people. It's awesome that we have, friends in Arkansas, Alaska, Canada. It's just been a great experience to meet some of these people and talk to some of these people and get their side of, how they do all this.
Yeah, I mean, we're all out here doing the same thing, right? We're
Yep.
just enjoying the outdoors. You want to do it with friends. Life's better. You like hanging out with people that enjoy the same stuff that you enjoy. And, we're making, like I said, about those antlers on the wall behind you. There's a story behind every one of them. That's why we do the podcast.
Yep.
So really appreciate 3B and what you guys bring to the table. You can always, follow 3B Outdoors Club. Always putting out great content. They share a lot of other guys' content too. So friend them, follow them, comment on their stuff. You can find us at Mentzer Outdoors. That's how we got started, the Mentzer group. And, we got the Tracks and Tackle page. So check out Tracks and Tackle. Give us a like, give us a comment and a follow. We're always looking for feedback. And so it adds to conversations like this. Like, what would you do if, or how would you handle that? So, all right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you. We'll give you your evening back. Thanks everybody else for tuning in. And 3B likes to say, get outdoors. We like to say nature is our playground. And we always encourage you to stay wild. We'll see you next time, guys.
See ya.